So now we have actually opened the enterprise architect, a new file. So file sequence. So this will open you the model wizard. In the model wizard, you have to take the dynamic view again. So this is exactly what we are doing. So we will open the dynamic view and right click on the dynamic view and add a package. Add a diagram. So right click, add a diagram, and in that you could understand that the sequence diagram is actually in the UML behavioral models, because we are actually working with object oriented design. So in that you have to click on the sequence diagram. We have actually used activity diagram and state chart diagram before. So now we are actually using the sequence diagram and click OK. Right. So if you want to rename your diagram, you can actually give it as sequence diagram. So these are the tools. So this is the pane with which you will actually work with the diagram itself, and these are the operators that you have, and this is nothing but the the project browser for you, right? So now let's kickstart with a simple example, and the example that we are actually going to do is that we are going to cancel an order. So while cancelling the order, we have to display the form, and you have to in fact cancel the order with the order ID. So how can we actually do all those? This is what we are actually going to see. So for that, initially we have a clerk. So we have an actor, which is the clerk, and we will have a main menu, which is nothing but the initial window that we are going to see. Then the order form will be displayed. So there will be a order controller or a cancel order controller, which will take this information to the backend, and it will list the order item there, and then for each of the order item, inside each of the item in the order item, we need to cancel them one by one. So we will use a looping structure also in order to understand how the looping works. So this is what we are going to see in this section. So the first thing which you have to take is an actor. So if you want to change the name of the actor, change the name of the actor to clerk. Okay. So this is the name of the actor. So you are just applying it, and so this is the clerk. And then so this is the lifeline. So if you want to extend the lifeline, you can simply extend it. So this is how the lifeline looks like. And then the next one is nothing but you have a entity. So this is your entity. So the next one is basically you should have a main menu itself. Okay. So main menu means you should go for the interface. Okay. So your interface here is basically, if you could look at here, see all those examples that you have here, if you could look at it. Okay. So this boundary is the one which we will basically use it. So we will use the boundary. So this boundary acts like a main menu. Okay. So this is the main menu. So when you do that, this is your main menu, which is nothing but your interface. Okay. And then say if you want to cancel something, then you should have an order form. So again, one more order menu. So I mean, like you have something called as an order form, which will be displayed in front of you. So order form is again a interface which will be popped up in front of you. So this is the order form. Okay. So once you have that, what you have to do is that you should have a controller. What is a controller? The controller is nothing but a cancel order controller. So we can just start it, and then we will actually populate it as time goes. Okay. So the initial thing is that we have this arrow which is here. From the arrow, our main aim is to actually cancel order, right? So this is how the arrow will look like. So double click on the arrow, and you have to actually write the message. What is the message? So whenever you write the messages, it is always better to number it. So numbering is actually, you know, something which comes as part of it. Okay, and the main function that you are going to use itself is, you know, cancel, and the second you know, thing will be, you know, capital letter normally. So this is how we will actually write a function. Okay, so C will be smaller and order, or that O will be capital, and always the function will be, you know, will be with the parenthesis. Okay, and if you have any parameters inside any of this, you will write the parameters here. So as of now we don't have any parameter which is listed here. So we are just, you know, invoking the cancel order. We have not yet passed the order ID. Okay, so as of now, you know, this is what it is. So now what you have to do is that you have to there are different type of flows also here. So as of now we are not worried about the synchronous and the asynchronous ways of doing things. So as of now we will just click OK. So this is the first one. So this is the first function which comes over here. And now what you have to do is that, say I want to cancel the order. So I'm clicking on the cancel order. So what will be displayed? So the order form has to be displayed, right? So from here I'm just taking the arrow and I'm just moving it to the order form. So when you look at it, you know, I'm just arranging the distance between these in a way that, you know, it is actually, you know, given in a better way. So better understanding, so that the people will be able to understand the flow of the messages itself. So this is in fact, you know, 1.1. So what I need to do is that it is nothing but it will simply display the order form. That's all it will do. So it will display the order form. This is my function. So I'm just clicking OK. So when you look at here, so this is the order form. So order form will be displayed. Now yes, the order form is displayed, and the order form, what I need to enter, I need to enter the order ID. So I need to clearly know that which order has to be displayed. So the clerk has to enter the order ID, right? So I'm just coming back to the clerk and I'm just moving towards the order form, because I am going to enter the order ID where in the order form. Okay, so I'm just clicking over to it. So this is my 1.2. So please see the numberings. Okay, so what I should do, so this is nothing but my cancel order. Okay, the cancel order itself, but here what am I going to do is that I am passing the parameter. What is my parameter? My parameter is basically order ID. So order ID is basically passed. So when you look at here, see, I am actually passing the cancel order, but I want to specifically cancel this particular order ID. So I'm entering the order ID here. Now what I need to do, I need to actually cancel the order. So where it should actually go, it should actually go to the locate order ID. Okay, so locate order ID is it, so I mean like to the database itself, right? So that is what we need to do. So the next one which I need to do is that I should have an entity, right? So I have an entity here. The entity is nothing but you know, the order database. Just imagine like this is a order database, order DB. I'm just calling it as order DB. Okay, so this is my so all the orders are actually, you know, in this order DB. So this is an entity. But now the main thing which you have to understand here is that this is an interface and this is an entity. The communication between the interface and the entity, you know, we should have a logic, right? So what is the logic, which logical structure that we will use to in order to communicate between them? We should have a controller, right? So we will come here and take the controller here. Okay, so we are just taking the controller. I am just putting a controller in between. And what would be my controller? My controller is nothing but a simple controller which was used for the cancel order, right? So I am just giving the name cancel order, and in order to just make it, you know, better, you could say that it as a controller, or you could also name it as, you know, handler. So handler or controller, that is the way that you will name. Okay, so we are here. So now what we need to do is that this cancel order with the order ID is basically passed on to the controller, because the controller will decide whether, you know, it has to be cancelled or not. So it will actually is the one which will actually propagate it to the next stage. So it's again the same thing, only no difference. It is cancel order. Okay, cancel order, and what has to be actually passed. So this is actually 1. So here I think it is 1.3. Okay, 1.3, and what are the parameters that we are actually passing? We are actually passing the order ID, right? So this is what is actually passed to here. Okay, Now this order ID has to be checked whether this order ID is actually there in the database or not. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the order database. Okay, but in the order database I want to check whether, so I'm just using it as the 1.4. okay, so check what is that, check order ID. okay, so I'm just checking the whether the order ID exists itself. okay, so what is my parameter? My parameter is nothing but order ID. So this is my parameter, right? And say if you want to have some what is that, parameter return value, you can actually give it like say check ID or something like that. Say check ID is equal to 0 or 1 or something like that. So if I give 0, so you could see that when you look at here, so check order ID, okay, and is to check ID. So this means that your return value is actually check ID. So if check ID is 1, that means that the order ID is there. If the check ID is actually 0, that means that the order ID is not there. Okay, so if you want to give any specific conditions, constraints, etc., you can do that as well. So you can actually click on this okay, so return. So when you click on the return, what happens is that that means that there is a return value for it. So the return value for this is basically the check ID. okay, so is return simply means that there is a return ID, return value for it. okay, so this is the message that you are actually checking, and whatever be the value, that will be actually assigned here. okay, so so maybe what you could do is that here here if I give check 1 second ID 1 second. So when you look at here, so this is also one way. So the return value of this particular function order ID is check ID. okay, and that will be actually assigned to, that will be actually given to this particular ID, check ID. So that's the meaning of it. okay, so this is nothing but the function. okay, the function name is check order ID, and what are we actually passing as the parameter? Order ID, and the return value of this particular function is check ID, that is assigned to the variable check ID. okay, so this is what is actually, what is the meaning of it. So now as as this is done, so it will go and check in the in the database, and it will actually give you some output, right? So now what we need to do is that, okay, say just imagine that you have got the order ID as 1. okay, now what we need to do, you need to make sure that yeah, okay, so 1 second. Okay, so I will just do a small check. So here we have actually checked whether the order is actually available or not, right? So we need to also check whether the order item is actually present. So we are actually going for one more entity here. So this is for a detailed check. okay, so here what I'm doing is that order item. okay, order item, say you can have an entity, order item entity, you can just write entity. okay, order item entity. So why is this order item? Because order is available. Inside the order, do you have any items itself? okay, that's the meaning of it. So how will you do that? So order is available. Now you are again going and check inside the order item entity whether the so what is there in it, it's also the same. So there is no difference. So you can actually click over to it. You can actually check here whether check okay, check order item, check order item. okay, check order item, and here the parameter passed is actually order ID itself, and here the return value you can just give it as check order item, check order item, check order. okay, so check order ID, order item ID, and the same thing you can actually give it as your what is that, here you can actually assign to check order item ID. okay, so here what is happening? So this is your function, what is actually passed as a parameter? Order ID. okay, order item ID, here it is order item ID is actually passed as the parameter. Okay, now what you need to do is that, okay, so here it is order, order, check order, and you are actually passing, what is the name which we have actually given here, what is the name which is actually, or check order. So check order, and inside the check order you are actually passing the order item ID. You are checking and you are also you need to get some item ID as the return, okay, and check order item ID, it is actually passed on to the, it is actually assigned to this one, right. So now this is fine. So here when you click over to it, you can actually give it as is return. So is return means you are expecting some return value here, okay. So that is the meaning of it, okay. So now when you look at it, okay, so you have checked whether the order is available, you have also checked whether the order item is available, okay. Now both of them are available. What you have to do, you need to go through each item at a time and then cancel each of the items in the order, right. So what will you do? So you have to actually start from where? From the order database. So how will you actually start the looping? So that is what I am going to show you. So there is something called fragment, okay. So you can actually put the fragment here. So in the fragment, there are various options, okay. So you have an alternative options. Alternate option is like your if else options, okay. Now the other option is basically your looping options. These are the major options that we will use. So here which one we have to use? We have to iterate through each order item, okay, in the order itself. So we are actually using the loop, okay, in the loop. So if you want to give any specific name for it, you can actually give that and click OK. So what happens is that now this is the order. So say now if you are actually giving like for each, okay, for each order, for each order item, for each order item you need to actually go through it. So let's see, okay. So okay, here, so this is the name of your loop. One second, cut, okay. The condition, I hope the condition is this one, okay. So here, see here, this is the loop, and for each order item you need to perform certain things. So what all things you need to perform, okay. So this is your 1.5 and this is your 1.5 1.5, right. So now this is your next one is your 1.6. So what is that you are going to do? In 1.6, what you are going to do is that you are going to cancel. So for each order item, what are you going to do? You are going to cancel each item. That's all you are going to do, okay. So what will you do is that you will start from here and you are actually taking it to the order entity, and what you want to do 1.6. So in 1.6 is nothing but simple cancel item, okay. You are cancelling the item, okay, cancelling the item. So please put your this thing. So you are cancelling the item, okay. So this is what is actually done. But in the cancel item, when you are actually cancelling the item, what you have to do, you need to update the stock, okay. So now when you are actually cancelling the item, you need to update the stock. So where will you get the stock? Stock is actually, what is it? Is it an entity or is it an interface or is it an control logic? It's an entity, okay. So you are taking another entity and dropping it here. So you if you want, what I will do is I will show you this way. Say this is your stock home, okay. This is your stock home because you are updating in the stock, okay. So you are having the stock home, and now what are you doing? You are from here, you are actually checking. You have to check whether the stock, you have to update the stock, okay. So you are updating the stock. So what will you, how will you update the stock? So you are coming over here. So this is your 1.7, okay. In 1.7, what you have to do, you need to identify the stock of the item, right. So check stock of order item, check the stock of order item, and what will be passed? Order item ID will be passed, order item order item ID will be passed. Okay, so this is how it is, order item ID will be passed. So now one more thing, okay, I want a return value. Okay, what is that return value? If the order item ID is already available, I want it to be assigned to, say, you know, stock item ID. Okay, stock item ID. So this is how it will look like. Okay, so now what you need to do, so if the stock is already if the stock exists, what you have to do, you need to return. Okay, so what you need to return, you will return from the stock home to the order item, right? So now this time what you will do is that, okay, so you will actually update, so another function, update stock order item. Okay, stock order item, what is actually passed, order item ID is passed. Okay, and now so you have to update it, and what you have to update, you know, yeah, so you are actually updating the ID, but you are actually updating the quantity. Okay, so you are updating the quantity of the stock. Okay, you are actually updating the quantity of the stock. Also make sure that it is a return function, so that means that it is a return function. So here, in fact, you know, you can actually double click over here, you can actually take this return off. Okay, so here also what you have to do is that, you know, you can take this return off from here. Okay, so when you look at it, this is a return function. Okay, so what is the return function? The return function is the update stock quantity. Okay, you are actually returning it so here also give the name as 1.8. Okay, 1.8. Now the one thing which you have to identify here is that, okay, what you need to do, so once the stock update is actually happening here, what you need to do, you need to update the stock. Okay, you need to update the stock. Okay, so what you need to do is that you will take this and one second, so you will take this and so there is a, one second, so this is basically your 1.7. so this is save, it is order ID. Okay, save order, and what you have to give, you have to give as the order ID. Okay, has to be saved. So when you look at it here, so there are three things, you know, say we have updated the stock order item, so here we have actually updated and the parameter is a quantity. Then what we have done is that, you know, we have simply taken this arrow and have put it back here. This is your self loop which you have created. Okay, so in the self loop, what are we doing? So we are actually simply saving the quantity. So we have actually taken out the stock, so we need to save it. Then we have to save the order item, then we have to save the order, right? So this is what in fact, you know, we are actually doing in all this particular steps. So now what you need to do is that, you know, say this one, say till here. Okay, so this is our loop, right? So till when our loop has to be repeated, our loop have to be repeated till here. Okay, so till we actually, you know, go with each of the stock item, you know, what is that, for each of the item. So we are actually, you know, working for each of the item, right? For each of the item, what we need to do, we need to update. Okay, so we will take check whether the stock is available, then we will actually, you know, update the stock, and then we will, you know, save it, then we will stick the save order, and this is what we have to do, right? So finally for each of the items we have completed, then we will save the order, right? Now one thing which I need to show you is that, so that's all is it. So this is a simple sequence diagram for you know, cancelling the order. So this is a simple example which you could actually look into it. So thank you so much. If you have any doubts or anything like that, you can always get back to me. Thanks a lot.